My name is Alvin, 34 years old, and until recently I thought helping family was the right thing to do. For 3 years I covered my sister Madison's rent car payments and constant emergencies. I believed she was struggling until that family dinner, when she arrived in a brand new Mercedes. The revelation shattered everything I thought about family loyalty and sacrifice. What happened next changed our relationship forever. Before I dive into this story that changed my entire family dynamic, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Also, take a second to subscribe if you want more real stories about setting boundaries with family. Trust me, this one is going to hit home. Growing up in suburban Boston, Madison, and I shared the typical sibling relationship despite our 5-year age gap. As the older brother, I always felt a sense of responsibility toward her. Our personalities contrasted sharply from an early age. While I approached life with practical discipline, Madison embraced spontaneity and impulsivity. She possessed natural charisma that drew people to her, making friends effortlessly, where I tended to be more reserved and analytical. Our childhood home buzzed with activity. Dad worked as an electrical engineer at a manufacturing company, often putting in overtime to provide for our comfortable middle-class existence. Mom taught elementary school, balancing her career with maintaining our household. They raised us with solid values about hard work and education, though looking back, I recognize they applied these expectations differently between us. My path through school reflected my methodical nature. I studied diligently, participated in math club and computer science competitions, and secured a full engineering scholarship to Northeastern University. Even with the scholarship, I worked 20 hours weekly at the campus IT department to cover living expenses. Graduating debt-free with a computer science degree, I felt proud of navigating my education independently. Madison took a different approach to academics. Intelligent but disinterested in structured learning, she scraped by with minimum effort, preferring social activities to studying. Her high school years featured cheerleading, student government, and a revolving door of friendships and relationships. Our parents celebrated her social accomplishments while expecting academic excellence from me. When college arrived, Madison changed majors 3 times in 4 years at UMass Amherst. Starting in business administration, she switched to psychology, then finally graduated with a communications degree. Each transition extended her time in school, accumulating substantial student loan debt. Meanwhile, I secured my first software development position immediately after graduation, moving quickly up the career ladder through dedication and technical aptitude. By age 30, I had established myself as a senior software engineer at a respected Boston technology firm specializing in healthcare applications. My salary reached 6 figures, allowing me to build a comfortable life in my apartment near Davis Square. I developed a small circle of close friends, enjoyed occasional dating, and prioritized financial security with healthy retirement contributions and an emergency fund. Madison graduated at 23 and entered the job market with substantial debt and limited professional direction. She secured various entry-level positions in marketing and public relations, but never stayed longer than 8 months at any company. Her reasons for leaving ranged from difficult bosses to toxic workplace cultures to lack of advancement opportunities. Between jobs, unemployment benefits sustained her temporarily. Our current financial entanglement began innocently 3 years ago. Madison called one evening, voice shaking as she explained she couldn't make rent after losing her latest position. Without hesitation, I transferred $1,000 to her account, viewing it as a temporary loan to help my sister through a rough patch. The gratitude in her voice reinforced my belief I had done the right thing. That initial loan marked the beginning of a pattern. Small requests came monthly at first. She needed $300 for car repairs, then $500 for medical bills, then another $400 when her roommate moved out unexpectedly. Each time Madison promised repayment once she secured stable employment. Each time that repayment never materialized. Gradually, the requests increased in both frequency and amount. By the 18-month mark, I had established regular monthly transfers, covering her rent at a modest apartment in Somerville. When her car loan became delinquent, I added that payment to avoid repossession. Student loan deferrals expired, and those payments joined the growing list. Emergency requests continued between these regular expenses, always accompanied by tears and desperate gratitude. Our parents knew about our arrangement, but framed it as temporary assistance. Dad frequently reminded me of my responsibility as the successful older brother to help Madison establish herself. Mom praised my generosity, while assuring me Madison just needed time to find her professional footing. Family gatherings featured subtle reminders about my obligation to support my struggling sister. To maintain this support system, I made significant personal sacrifices. My plans to purchase a condominium stalled as my down payment savings diminished. I reduced retirement contributions by half to maintain adequate monthly cash flow. A long-planned trip to Japan with college friends vanished from possibility. Despite these concessions, I rationalized them as temporary investments in my sister's future stability. Throughout this period, I genuinely believed Madison lived on the edge of financial disaster. Our conversations reinforced this perception as she described cutting expenses, eating ramen noodles, and taking side gigs to supplement income. She shared stories about interviewing for promising positions that mysteriously fell through at the final stage. I sympathized with her apparent struggles, never questioning the narrative she constructed. The foundation of our arrangement rested on my belief in Madison's eventual independence. She frequently discussed promising job leads and plans to repay my generosity once she secured stable employment. I viewed myself as a temporary safety net, preventing my sister from homelessness or crushing debt, never suspecting the reality hidden beneath her carefully crafted stories. My parents celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary last October. To mark the occasion, I organized a special dinner at Sorellina, an upscale Italian restaurant in downtown Boston. The reservation included our immediate family plus 2 aunts, 2 uncles, and several cousins who lived in the area. I arrived 90 minutes early to arrange a champagne toast, confirm the private dining area setup, and place framed photos from their wedding day throughout the space. The emotional investment in creating a perfect evening for my parents ran deep. I wanted to honor their marriage and the stable foundation they provided throughout our childhood. Most family members arrived promptly at 7, excited to participate in the celebration. My parents appeared genuinely touched by the effort Mom tearing up as she viewed the vintage photographs. At 7:30, Madison had still not arrived. Apologetic texts claimed traffic delays. Just as we considered starting without her, she burst through the restaurant doors in dramatic fashion. Conversations halted as everyone noticed her entrance. She wore a stunning black cocktail dress that hugged her figure, perfectly accented by a gleaming necklace and matching earrings I had never seen before. More shocking than her fashionable appearance was her mode of transportation. Through the restaurant windows, the valet parked a brand new Mercedes CLA coupe, its metallic silver finish catching the streetlights. Confusion washed over me immediately. Just 3 weeks earlier, Madison had called desperately needing $800 for emergency car repairs on her old Honda Civic. As hugs and greetings circulated, I pulled Madison aside, gesturing toward the luxury vehicle outside. "Nice car. Rental for a special occasion," I asked, already constructing rationalizations in my mind. Perhaps a friend loaned it to her, or maybe her new marketing job provided it temporarily. "Oh, that," she replied casually. "I got such a great deal I couldn't pass it up." The salesman practically gave it away. Before I could press further, she slipped away to greet our extended family, leaving me with more questions than answers. We settled at the long table as servers brought appetizers. Madison dominated conversation with animated stories about her students. She had recently begun working as a teacher's assistant at a private elementary school, a position she described as fulfilling but underpaid. Between bites of calamari and arancini, she pulled out her phone to show photos from a recent weekend trip to Miami. The beach was absolutely gorgeous. She gushed, scrolling through pictures of herself lounging at an oceanfront resort, cocktail in hand. Such a perfect, quick getaway. The weather in Boston was so depressing, I just needed some sunshine. I attempted mental calculations while maintaining a neutral expression. The trip would have cost at least $1,000 between flights, hotel, and expenses. Just 2 weeks earlier, Madison had texted about postponing her utility payment because she could barely afford groceries that month. By the second course, Madison discussed her new fitness routine at Equinox, an exclusive gym with memberships exceeding $200 monthly. She described personal training sessions and specialized classes that had completely transformed her energy levels. Meanwhile, I continued paying for her basic utilities because she claimed financial hardship. As dinner progressed, I noticed details previously overlooked. The delicate gold bracelet adorning her wrist came from Tiffany, recognizable by its distinctive charm. Her perfectly maintained manicure featured the complex designs of a high-end salon. The designer handbag resting beside her chair retailed for over $1,000, according to an advertisement I had recently seen. "Madison, tell everyone about your European vacation," my mother prompted during the main course. 2 whole weeks, I am so jealous." My sister beamed with excitement. "Paris and Barcelona next month, I have been planning this forever." The airfare deals were too good to resist. She launched into detailed descriptions of boutique hotels and exclusive restaurants featured on her itinerary. My internal turmoil intensified with each revelation. The European vacation would cost thousands, yet Madison claimed she couldn't afford her car insurance premium last month, which I had covered immediately after her tearful call. "That downtown apartment of yours has such a beautiful view of the river," Mom continued proudly. "Show everyone those sunset photos from your balcony." Madison passed her phone around, displaying images of a sleek, modern apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Charles River. The rent for such a property would easily exceed $3,000 monthly. I had been transferring $2,000 to Madison for what she described as a basic studio apartment in a safe but unfashionable neighborhood. Uncle Jake always direct whistled appreciatively at the photos. "Pretty impressive place on a teacher's assistant salary," he remarked. "You must be a financial wizard, Madison." She laughed lightly. "I am really good at finding bargains," she replied with a wink. "Plus, having a brother who helps with the boring bills means I can splurge occasionally on the fun stuff." The casual admission landed like a physical blow. The restaurant sounds faded as realization crystallized in my mind. My sister had been systematically manipulating me for years. While claiming desperate financial hardship, she had redirected my assistance toward funding a luxury lifestyle far beyond her actual income. Every emergency, every tearful call, every promise of repayment, once her situation improved, suddenly appeared in a new context. The narrative of my struggling sister disintegrated, replaced by the reality of calculated deception by someone I had trusted implicitly. The revelation left me disoriented and nauseated. I excused myself to the restroom, seeking a moment of privacy to process my churning emotions. Locked in a bathroom stall, I pulled out my phone and opened my text history with Madison. Just 9 days earlier, she had sent a message that read, "Hate to ask again, but completely broke until payday. Can you send $200 for groceries, living on ramen this week?" I had transferred the money immediately, with an encouraging message about her situation improving soon. That same day, according to her Instagram timestamp, she had posted a photo of an expensive sushi dinner with friends, carefully cropped to exclude identifying details of the upscale restaurant. Splashing cold water on my face, I struggled to compose myself before returning to the celebration. The disconnect between my perception and reality left me feeling profoundly foolish. For 3 years, I had believed Madison barely survived financially, while she actually enjoyed luxuries. I denied myself to fund her lifestyle. Returning to the table, I observed Madison through new eyes. Her animated gestures, practiced laughter, and strategic compliments to family members revealed a performance I had never recognized. She controlled the conversation, skillfully deflecting questions about career progress, while emphasizing her dedication to underprivileged students. While scrolling through photos to show Aunt Brenda, Madison briefly revealed her social media feed. Designer clothing purchases, spa treatments, weekend getaways, and upscale restaurant meals filled her recent history. The carefully curated image contradicted everything she had told me about financial struggles. "That watch is gorgeous, Madison," my cousin Rachel commented, noticing the elegant timepiece on my sister's wrist. "Is that the new Michelle model?" Madison extended her arm proudly. "Good eye. Yes, I treated myself after a particularly difficult semester. Mental health splurge." The watch retailed for over $1,000, according to advertisements I had recently seen while shopping for a more modest timepiece for myself. That sum equaled 3 months of utility payments I had been covering because Madison claimed she couldn't afford them on her limited teaching assistant salary. As dinner conversation shifted toward my life, I noticed a subtle dismissiveness in my family's reactions. My recent promotion to senior developer warranted only brief acknowledgement before discussion returned to Madison's supposedly challenging but rewarding work with children. "Alvin just sits at a computer all day," Madison remarked with a light laugh. "Meanwhile, I am shaping young minds, though I admit his boring job does pay better than my meaningful one." The comment carried a competitive edge I had never detected before. Throughout the evening, Madison inserted similar remarks, subtly undermining my career, while positioning herself as making noble sacrifices for education. "Speaking of your good job," my father interjected, "your mother and I are thinking about that bathroom renovation we have discussed. Since Madison is dedicated to teaching rather than making money, perhaps you could help us fund the project. Nothing extravagant, just around $15,000. The casual expectation that I would finance home improvements while continuing to support Madison revealed a family dynamic I had been blind to. They viewed my income as a communal resource, while celebrating Madison's lifestyle choices as admirable despite their financial consequences. Throughout the meal, evidence of Madison's duplicity accumulated. She mentioned weekend brunch traditions at an exclusive restaurant I knew, charged $40 per person. She described her personal stylist who helped coordinate her professional wardrobe. She debated vacation properties with our cousin, comparing amenities at luxury resorts in tropical locations. "I totally have a shopping addiction," Madison announced with a theatrical sigh when Aunt Laura complimented her designer shoes. "But life is too short to deny yourself small pleasures, right?" The statement triggered memories of countless texts where Madison claimed she couldn't afford basic necessities. The small pleasures she refused to deny herself were funded directly by my sacrifices and delayed financial goals. Anger built slowly within me as dinner progressed. The betrayal extended beyond Madison to include my parents, who clearly understood the situation but encouraged it regardless. The entire family structure suddenly appeared built on my continued financial support without acknowledgement or appreciation. Yet beneath the anger lay a deeper conflict. Despite the deception, Madison remained my sister. We shared childhood memories, inside jokes, and genuine affection. Confronting her manipulation would inevitably damage our relationship and potentially divide the family. The prospect of that confrontation filled me with dread, despite my growing certainty it had become necessary. By dessert, my decision crystallized. I would address the situation with Madison privately, after dinner, avoiding public embarrassment, while establishing clear boundaries moving forward. The thought of withdrawing financial support produced immediate anxiety, reflecting how deeply entrenched I had become in enabling her lifestyle. As servers cleared plates and conversation drifted toward coffee orders, I observed Madison laughing carelessly with our cousins. Her perfectly manicured hand rested on an iPhone model newer than mine, her wrist adorned with jewelry worth thousands, her carefree attitude purchased largely through my financial sacrifices. The contrast between her manufactured image of struggling teacher and the reality of her luxury lifestyle solidified my resolve. Family loyalty had value, but not at the expense of basic honesty and mutual respect. The conversation ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in years I prioritized self-respect over Madison's manipulative needs. After dinner concluded and extended family departed, I asked Madison to join me in our parents' garden. The October evening carried a slight chill, but their backyard offered privacy for the conversation we needed to have. Japanese maple trees, their leaves turned brilliant red, surrounded a small stone patio where we sat on wrought iron chairs. The familiar setting of countless childhood conversations seemed appropriate for addressing the adult deception that had undermined our relationship. "I wanted to talk about your financial situation." I began, carefully maintaining a calm tone despite my internal tension. "Some things do not add up based on what I saw tonight." Madison tilted her head quizzically, the picture of innocence. "What do you mean?" "Everything is fine. The teaching job does not pay great, but I manage." "That is the thing," I continued, meeting her gaze directly. "You have a new Mercedes parked outside. You just showed photos of a luxury apartment overlooking the Charles. You are planning a European vacation next month. None of that aligns with someone who texted me 9 days ago saying they could not afford groceries." Her expression shifted, subtly defensive posture, replacing casual confidence. You are tracking my spending now. Those are completely different issues. The car was an amazing deal with financing. The apartment looks nicer in photos than reality. And I have been saving forever for that trip. Madison the First countered. I have transferred over $3,000 to you in the past month alone for what you described as essential expenses. Meanwhile, you are wearing a watch that costs more than $1,000 and carrying a designer handbag. Her strategy changed quickly, eyes narrowing as she recognized direct denial would not work. Why are you suddenly bean counting? You make 6 figures. This arrangement works for both of us. You get to feel like the big successful brother and I get to live comfortably. What is the problem? The casual admission of manipulation stunned me momentarily. The problem is that you have been lying to me for years. You portrayed yourself as barely surviving financially, while apparently living a lifestyle that includes luxury cars, expensive vacations, and designer accessories. Madison leaned forward, voice lowering. Look, you have no spouse, no kids, no real expenses. Your money just sits in accounts growing dust. Meanwhile, I am out building a life, making connections, having experiences. Why shouldn't some of your excess support that? Because you lied, I replied, struggling to maintain composure. You claimed you could not afford rent, utilities, car payments, and basic necessities. I cut back my own savings and delayed my own goals to help you through what I thought was temporary hardship. She rolled her eyes dismissively. Oh, please. You love playing the martyr. The responsible older brother rescuing his flighty little sister. It feeds your ego. The conversation rapidly deteriorated as Madison's pretense of financial struggle completely vanished. Instead, a sense of entitlement emerged that shocked me even more than the deception itself. 2 weeks ago, I pressed you, called crying about an emergency dental procedure costing $1,200. You claimed insurance would not cover it, and you had no way to pay. I transferred the money immediately. A flicker of discomfort crossed her features before disappearing. And I appreciate that. Family helps family. I want receipts for that dental work, I stated firmly. I want to see exactly what the procedure cost and where that money went. Madison's defensive posture intensified, so now I need to provide receipts. What happened to trusting your sister? This is insulting. What happened to honesty? I countered. I believe you used that money for your Miami trip, not dental work. I want repayment of those funds and any other recent emergency expenses that were fabricated. Her face flushed with anger. I do not need to justify myself to you. Just because you choose to help does not mean you get to control me or monitor my spending. That is toxic behavior. Our raised voices attracted attention from inside the house. Through the patio doors, I noticed our parents exchanging concerned glances before heading toward us. Their arrival complicated an already volatile situation. What is going on out here? Dad asked, surveying our confrontational postures. We can hear you from inside. Before I could respond, Madison produced tears with practiced ease. Alvin is attacking me about money. He suddenly wants receipts and proof for everything. He is threatening to cut me off completely. Mom immediately moved to Madison's side, placing a protective arm around her shoulders. Alvin, what is this about, on our anniversary night? I struggled to articulate the situation without sounding petty. Madison has been misleading me about her financial situation. She claims poverty, while living an expensive lifestyle far beyond her means, funded by the money I provide for supposed necessities. Dad frowned deeply. She is your sister. What does it matter how she spends her money? It is not her money, I replied, frustration mounting. She specifically requests funds for rent, utilities, car payments, and emergencies. Meanwhile, she buys luxury items, takes expensive vacations, and lives in an upscale apartment that costs more than she claims. Mom shook her head disapprovingly. You have always been so rigid with money, Alvin. Not everyone approaches finances with your spreadsheet mentality. This is not about different financial styles, I insisted. This is about systematic deception. Did you know Madison drives a brand new Mercedes, while telling me her old Honda needed constant repairs I paid for? My parents exchanged glances that confirmed my suspicion. They had known all along. Madison works with children, Dad replied firmly. That Mercedes was a safety consideration. Her old car was unreliable. Besides, she got an excellent deal. The unified defense of Madison's deception stunned me. They not only knew about her financial manipulation, but actively enabled and encouraged it. "How long have you known?" I asked quietly. "How long have you known I was covering Madison's basic expenses while she spent her income on luxury items?" Mom sighed heavily. "We raised you to support family. After all we have done for you throughout your life, helping your sister get established seems like a reasonable expectation." "Established," I repeated incredulously. "She has been claiming financial crisis for 3 years, while apparently saving enough for European vacations and designer wardrobes. This is not about establishing herself. This is taking advantage." Dad stepped forward, voice hardening. "How dare you refuse to help your sister? Family comes first always. Your mother and I sacrificed everything to give you opportunities. The least you can do is ensure Madison has a comfortable life." The statement revealed a fundamental imbalance I had never fully recognized. My parents viewed my financial success as partially theirs to direct, particularly toward supporting Madison regardless of her choices or honesty. "I have helped," I responded firmly. "For 3 years I have covered Madison's essential expenses. What I will not do is continue funding a lifestyle of luxury based on lies." Madison, sensing the conversation shifting beyond her control, escalated the emotional manipulation. "I cannot believe you would abandon me like this, after everything we have been through as siblings. What kind of brother turns his back on his sister?" "The kind who finally recognizes enabling is not helping," I replied, standing to indicate the conversation had concluded. "Starting tomorrow, I am canceling all automatic payments. You have 30 days to make other arrangements for your rent car payment and utilities." The declaration created immediate uproar. Madison's tears flowed freely while my parents voiced simultaneous objections. The garden scene devolved into a chaotic exchange of accusations and emotional appeals. "You have changed," Mom declared sadly. "Success has made you cold and selfish. You choose money over family," Dad added bitterly. "Remember this moment when you need us someday." Their reactions confirmed the dysfunction underlying our family dynamic. My value seemed measured solely by willingness to provide financial support without question or expectation of honesty. "I am sorry you feel that way," I responded, gathering my coat. "I love all of you, but this arrangement has become unhealthy for everyone involved. Madison needs to take responsibility for her choices, and I need to stop enabling behavior that ultimately hurts her growth." I left the anniversary dinner with a profound sense of isolation. The family identity I had valued throughout my life suddenly appeared conditional upon financial compliance. As I drove home through familiar neighborhoods, the weight of betrayal from those closest to me settled heavily on my shoulders, alongside the determination to finally establish healthy boundaries regardless of the emotional cost. The week following the dinner revelation passed in a blur of emotional processing and practical action. Initial anger gave way to deep hurt, then resolved into determined clarity. The family dynamic exposed at the anniversary celebration demanded response beyond heated words. Systematic changes needed implementation regardless of the discomfort involved. On Tuesday, I contacted my friend Thomas for lunch. As a financial advisor who had previously expressed concern about my support of Madison, he offered perspective untainted by family loyalty. We met at a quiet sandwich shop near my office where I detailed the entire situation without minimizing my own role in enabling the deception. "I need to understand exactly what this arrangement has cost me," I explained, pushing aside my half-eaten turkey club. "Not just financially, but in terms of delayed goals and opportunities." Thomas nodded thoughtfully. "Let us start with the concrete numbers. Bring me copies of bank statements, transfer records, credit card statements, anything documenting your support." That evening, I compiled 3 years of financial records, creating a spreadsheet that categorized every dollar provided to Madison. The process proved illuminating and disturbing. Regular monthly payments for rent, utilities, car loans, and student debt formed the foundation. Layered atop these consistent expenses were dozens of emergency requests, ranging from several hundred to several $1,000s each. Our next meeting occurred in Thomas's office, where professional distance helped maintain objectivity. He reviewed my documentation methodically before revealing the devastating total. Based on these records, he stated calmly, "You have provided Madison approximately $65,000 over 3 years. That excludes birthday gifts, holiday presents, and shared meals you likely covered." The figure exceeded even my worst estimation. Calculated as after-tax dollars, the sum represented nearly 20% of my total income during that period. Applied toward my own financial goals, those funds could have purchased the condominium I desired, fully funded retirement accounts, or created substantial investment growth. "The opportunity cost extends beyond the direct transfers," Thomas continued. "Reduced retirement contributions mean lost compounding. Delayed property purchase means missed appreciation in Boston's rising market. The real cost approaches 6 figures when projected forward." Armed with this sobering assessment, I developed a comprehensive plan to discontinue financial support systematically. Thomas helped craft a schedule that would minimize disruption while establishing clear boundaries. The process would begin immediately, but provide transition time for Madison to adjust her finances accordingly. First, I removed Madison as an authorized user on my credit card. Though intended for genuine emergencies, statement review revealed regular charges at restaurants, clothing, retailers, and entertainment venues. Next, I drafted formal notification to Madison's landlord, terminating my payment guarantee on her lease. The property management company confirmed she would need to qualify independently at next renewal or find alternative housing. The most complex task involved canceling automatic payments established for various expenses. Each required separate processes and verification. Student loan servicers needed direct communication from Madison to establish new payment methods. Utility companies required authorization to remove my accounts from her service addresses. The Mercedes dealership expressed immediate concern about loan viability without my continued co-signature. Throughout this methodical dismantling of financial entanglement, Madison launched an escalating campaign of emotional manipulation. Initial text messages expressed disbelief that I would suddenly abandon her without warning. When those received minimal response, tactics shifted toward detailed explanations of the hardships my decision would allegedly cause. "I will lose my apartment," one message claimed. "They will never approve me on my teaching salary alone. I will be homeless because of your selfishness. My car will be repossessed," another stated. "I need reliable transportation to reach my students. You are punishing innocent children with your petty revenge." When these appeals failed to reverse my decision, Madison escalated to direct threats. "I will tell everyone in the family how you abandoned me. No one will ever look at you the same way again." The predicted family intervention began promptly. Mom called daily with tearful pleas to reconsider, citing Madison's apparent distress and inability to manage independently. Dad's approach featured anger and accusations rather than appeals, claiming my actions demonstrated fundamental character flaws. "Family takes care of family" became his repeated refrain. "Your grandfather supported his brothers through the Depression. Your uncles helped each other through business failures. Only you would abandon your sister over something as meaningless as money." Their coordinated pressure campaign extended to extended family members. Aunts and uncles initiated awkward conversations expressing concern about family harmony. Cousins sent messages suggesting I had overreacted to a minor misunderstanding. The family network mobilized almost unanimously to restore the previous arrangement without addressing the underlying deception. One notable exception emerged unexpectedly. Aunt Laura, Dad's sister, called one evening with a different perspective. "I just want you to know," she said quietly, "that some of us understand what you are doing and why. Madison has been playing this game for years. Setting boundaries is hard but necessary. Stay strong even if it feels like you are standing alone." The conversation provided crucial validation during an increasingly isolating process. As weeks passed, Madison expanded her campaign beyond family to include mutual friends and acquaintances. Social media posts hinted at abandonment by an unnamed relative during financial hardship. Mutual friends reached out expressing concern based on Madison's selective narrative. Each contact required careful response that maintained privacy while establishing boundaries. To close friends, I provided limited context without detailed accusations. To casual acquaintances, I simply acknowledged family disagreement without elaboration. The process proved exhausting but necessary to maintain integrity through the transition. Madison boycotted Thanksgiving, creating family tension that dominated the usually festive gathering. My parents maintained barely civil communication throughout the meal, while extended family navigated uncomfortable silences. The holiday marked 3 weeks since cancellation of automatic payments, and Madison had begun experiencing actual financial consequences. By early December, reality had forced adaptations. Madison secured a second job at a retail store to supplement her teaching assistant income. She downsized from her luxury apartment to a shared living arrangement with 2 roommates. The Mercedes disappeared, replaced by an older model Honda similar to her previous vehicle. These changes occurred amid ongoing resentment and blame directed exclusively toward me. Christmas brought modified celebrations with strained interactions and underlying tension. Madison attended family gathering briefly, making pointed comments about her reduced circumstances. My parents maintained coolness toward me while lavishing attention on Madison. The dynamic reinforced my understanding of the entrenched roles we had all played in enabling unhealthy patterns. 3 months into the separation of finances, Madison had adapted to her actual income level with apparent difficulty. My parents continued providing some financial assistance, though significantly less than my previous support. Their resources, limited by retirement, could not sustain Madison's preferred lifestyle, creating resentment they directed primarily toward me. The breaking point in family communication occurred during a January phone call with Dad. After several minutes of surface conversation, he commented Madison had to cancel her dental insurance. If she loses teeth because you abandoned her, that will be your legacy in this family. The statement, combining manipulation, exaggeration, and fundamental unfairness, crystallized my decision to temporarily distance myself from all family communication. The constant pressure and blame without acknowledgement of Madison's deception had created an environment toxic to my mental health and personal growth. For the next several weeks, I limited contact to brief text responses, confirming my well-being without engaging in substantive discussion. The distance provided space to process complex emotions and establish clearer perspective on healthy family dynamics versus obligation disguised as love. The first months following financial separation from Madison brought unexpected challenges and growth opportunities. Initial elation at reclaiming control of my resources quickly gave way to profound guilt. Years of family conditioning had established deeply ingrained patterns that questioned any prioritization of personal needs above family demands. Quiet evenings alone in my apartment became battlegrounds between rational understanding of healthy boundaries and emotional programming that equated boundary setting with selfishness. Recognizing the need for objective perspective, I began weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Marshall, a family systems specialist recommended by a colleague. Our initial conversations focused on identifying unhealthy patterns established throughout childhood and reinforced in adulthood. Your family appears to operate on an unbalanced reciprocity model, Dr. Marshall observed during our third session. Your achievements create an expected debt to be paid through ongoing support of your sister, while her struggles generate entitlement without corresponding responsibility. Through these conversations, I recognized how my professional success had paradoxically diminished my autonomy within family systems. Financial ability became equated with obligation, creating a dynamic where earning more simply meant owing more to family members regardless of their choices or accountability. Guilt serves as the enforcement mechanism, Dr. Marshall explained. When you establish boundaries, the guilt response activates to restore previous patterns beneficial to others at your expense. Understanding these dynamics intellectually provided foundation for emotional healing, though the process developed gradually. Small victories accumulated over months. I began viewing financial decisions through the lens of personal values rather than anticipated family reactions. Recreation and social connections received appropriate priority after years of sacrifice. Perspective shifts transformed boundary maintenance from painful obligation to essential self-respect. The practical benefits of reclaimed resources manifested quickly. My retirement contributions returned to recommended levels, rebuilding security compromised during years of diverted funds. The condominium purchase process resumed with mortgage pre-approval and active property searches. Professional development opportunities previously declined due to cost constraints now became accessible, enhancing career prospects and satisfaction. Perhaps most significant relationships outside the family sphere flourished with newly available emotional energy. Friendships deepened through increased availability and presence. Dating previously relegated to occasional priority received appropriate attention and investment. My circle expanded beyond work connections to include community organizations and volunteer opportunities previously considered unaffordable luxuries of time or resources. Meanwhile, Madison navigated her own adjustment process. Through occasional updates from Aunt Laura and mutual acquaintances, I learned of significant lifestyle modifications necessary to accommodate actual income limitations. The transition appeared genuinely challenging after years of artificially inflated resources. Initially, Madison attempted maintaining previous consumption patterns through credit cards and new debt sources. When these proved insufficient, practical adaptations became necessary. She secured additional employment teaching weekend art classes at a community center, adding approximately 15 hours weekly to her schedule. The second income supplemented her primary teaching assistant position, providing necessary stability without parental or sibling subsidy. Housing arrangements underwent significant modification. The luxury riverside apartment disappeared from social media posts, replaced by more modest accommodations shared with roommates in a suburban neighborhood. Transportation adjusted accordingly, with public transit replacing the Mercedes for most daily commuting. Designer fashion and accessories appeared less frequently in photos, suggesting reprioritized spending, or at least more selective social media documentation. My parents experienced their own adjustment process. Their limited retirement resources could not replace my previous level of support for Madison. This reality forced recognition that Madison needed genuine independence rather than transferred dependency. Dad initially increased financial assistance beyond their budget, creating tension between my parents until practical limitations forced recalibration. 5 months into our estrangement, I received a Thanksgiving invitation from Mom via text message. The wording suggested tentative reconciliation. "We would love to have you join us if you feel comfortable. The holiday should be about gratitude and family, whatever our differences." After careful consideration and consultation with Dr. Marshall, I accepted with clear boundaries regarding financial discussions. The gathering revealed subtle but significant shifts in family dynamics. Madison's appearance reflected her adjusted circumstances with simpler clothing and fewer luxury accessories than previous holidays. Her conversation included references to budgeting challenges and workplace achievements, without expectation of immediate financial intervention. My parents maintained somewhat reserved interaction, but avoided direct criticism or pressure regarding support for Madison. Most notably, Uncle Jake publicly acknowledged my position during dinner conversation. When Dad made oblique reference to family members helping each other, Uncle Jake interjected, "There is a difference between helping and enabling. Sometimes the strongest support means encouraging independence rather than creating dependency." The statement silenced the table momentarily before conversation resumed on safer topics. Though brief, the comment signaled critical perspective shift within extended family. My decision no longer appeared universally condemned, suggesting potential for healthier future dynamics. Madison approached me privately as I prepared to leave, requesting conversation on the front porch. Braced for renewed manipulation, I was surprised by her subdued demeanor and apparent sincerity. "I have been doing a lot of thinking," she began hesitantly. "These past months have been really hard, but also clarifying. I never really learned to manage on my actual income because I always had your safety net." She continued without prompt, acknowledging the deception regarding her lifestyle choices while receiving my financial support. Though stopping short of full accountability, her recognition of problematic patterns marked significant progress from previous entitlement. "Working 2 jobs is exhausting," she admitted, "but also weirdly satisfying. The art classes connect me with students who actually appreciate learning, and paying my own bills completely feels different than I expected." Our conversation maintained appropriate boundaries, while establishing foundation for potentially healthier relationship moving forward. I expressed support for her growing independence without offering financial assistance. She accepted these terms without apparent resentment, suggesting genuine evolution rather than tactical adjustment. Madison's boyfriend Thomas accompanied her to Christmas dinner, providing unexpected ally in family reconstruction. His perspective as financial analyst brought practical reinforcement to discussions of budgeting and responsibility. His presence seemed to moderate Madison's behavior, particularly regarding spending discussions and financial expectations. "Madison has really impressed me with her adjustment," he commented during dessert. "When we first met, she spent without much thought about tomorrow. Now she actually maintains a budget spreadsheet and celebrates paying bills independently. That growth is attractive." The comment, delivered without knowledge of our previous financial entanglement, validated the difficult boundary establishment that enabled Madison's development. While Madison flushed with embarrassment, the observation highlighted positive outcomes from challenging transitions. A private conversation with Mom during the holiday visit revealed evolving parental perspective as well. While stopping short of acknowledging their role in enabling Madison's dependency, she expressed appreciation for Madison's growing maturity and self-sufficiency. "I worried constantly when she relied so heavily on you," Mom admitted quietly. "It never seemed sustainable, but we did not know how to change the pattern once established. Maybe this difficult period has been necessary for everyone." Dad maintained greater distance, though subtle shifts appeared in his communication. Direct criticism diminished, replaced by neutral topics and occasional acknowledgement of my professional achievements. The relationship remained tentative, but suggested potential healing with continued healthy boundaries and expectations. Perhaps most significantly, Madison initiated regular communication uncoupled from financial requests. Our text exchanges evolved from functional interactions to genuine interest in each other's lives and activities. Weekend coffee meetings established new connection patterns based on sibling relationship rather than financial dependency. Though reconciliation remained incomplete, foundation for healthier future interaction had been established through difficult but necessary transition. 1 year after the revelatory family dinner that exposed Madison's deception and transformed our family dynamic, we gathered again to celebrate our parents' anniversary. The intervening months had produced remarkable changes for everyone involved. The painful process of establishing boundaries and confronting unhealthy patterns had ultimately created space for authentic growth and relationship repair. Madison's transformation proved most dramatic and encouraging. Her initial resentment and victimhood narrative gradually yielded to genuine responsibility and independence. The teaching assistant position she had previously described as temporary stepping stone became foundation for professional advancement when she enrolled in evening education certification courses. The additional credential qualified her for full teaching positions with substantially increased salary and benefits. "I actually love teaching more than I expected," Madison shared during the anniversary dinner. "Working with third graders challenges me creatively and emotionally in ways marketing jobs never did. The certification program is demanding, but knowing I am financing it myself makes the achievement more meaningful." Financial independence had fostered corresponding personal growth. Madison maintained the second weekend job for 6 months until emergency savings reached appropriate levels. She then transitioned to part-time tutoring that complemented her education studies while providing supplemental income. Her apartment, while modest compared to previous luxury accommodations, represented sustainable housing aligned with actual resources rather than artificial subsidy. Most significantly, Madison had begun voluntary repayment of funds provided during our previous arrangement. Each month, small but consistent transfers appeared in my account, with notes acknowledging specific loans being addressed. The amounts remained symbolic compared to total support provided, but the gesture demonstrated fundamental shift in perspective and responsibility. "I cannot repay everything immediately," she had explained when initiating the process, "but recognizing these were loans rather than entitlements seems important for both of us. Even token repayment acknowledges the reality of what happened." My own life had undergone equally significant transformation following withdrawal from the financially draining relationship. Professional advancement accelerated with energy previously diverted to managing Madison's continual crises. A promotion to development team leader brought increased responsibility, compensation, and satisfaction. Freed from supporting two households, my financial situation stabilized, then flourished under consistent planning and appropriate prioritization. The condominium purchase finalized 4 months after establishing financial boundaries. The two-bedroom unit in Cambridge required substantial down payment only possible through reclaimed resources. The property represented tangible manifestation of redirected priorities, providing both financial investment and personal sanctuary. Mortgage payments approximated previous expenditures, supporting Madison with critical difference of building personal equity rather than enabling dependency. Retirement accounts recovered from previous reductions, growing steadily through restored contributions and market appreciation. The financial security fostered confidence, extending beyond monetary considerations. Long-deferred personal goals received appropriate attention and resources, from fitness commitments to social connections to dating relationships. A particularly meaningful development emerged 6 months after the financial separation. After several promising dates with Catherine, a pediatric nurse, I met through mutual friends, our relationship deepened into significant partnership. Her independence, emotional maturity, and clear boundaries provided healthy counterpoint to previous family dynamics. Our connection, built on mutual respect rather than dependency or obligation, demonstrated possibility of relationships enhancing rather than depleting personal resources. The family system itself had undergone necessary reconstruction following the initial confrontation. My parents gradually adjusted expectations and communication patterns as Madison established genuine independence. Their perspective shifted from viewing my boundary setting as abandonment to recognizing its role in facilitating Madison's growth and responsibility. "Your sister has really matured this year," Dad acknowledged during a private conversation before the anniversary dinner. "That probably would not have happened if the previous arrangement continued indefinitely. I did not understand your approach initially, but the results speak for themselves." The statement, while stopping short of apology for previous accusations, represented significant evolution in perspective. Mom expressed similar recognition, noting positive changes in Madison's approach to challenges and responsibility. Their relationship with Madison appeared to have matured alongside her independence, shifting from enabling protection to appropriate adult connection. Extended family dynamics reflected corresponding adjustments. Uncle Jake and Aunt Laura expressed explicit support for the healthier boundaries established throughout the system. Cousins, who initially supported Madison's victimhood narrative, now acknowledged her growth through self-sufficiency. The family narrative gradually transformed from portraying boundary establishment as selfish abandonment to recognizing its role in necessary development. The anniversary dinner itself provided perfect bookend to the year of transformation. Unlike the previous gathering that exposed long-standing deception, this celebration featured authentic connection and appropriate expectations. Madison discussed her achievements and challenges without manipulation or entitlement. My contributions received appropriate acknowledgement without presumption of unlimited access. Parents celebrated their anniversary surrounded by healthier, more independent adult children, capable of genuine relationship rather than obligatory support. After dinner, Madison and I walked through the same garden where confrontation had occurred 12 months earlier. The Japanese maples displayed identical autumn brilliance, but our interaction reflected profound evolution from that painful exchange. "I need to thank you," Madison stated simply. "Not for the financial support, though, that was significant, but for finally establishing the boundaries I resented so deeply at the time. Without that painful wake-up call, I might still be trapped in dependency and deception, never discovering my actual capabilities or genuine path." The acknowledgement validated the difficult decisions and painful consequences navigated throughout the year. Beyond financial considerations, the boundary establishment had ultimately served Madison's development while protecting my well-being, creating possibility for authentic relationship previously impossible. The hardest part, I admitted, was recognizing how enabling differs from helping. Providing resources without accountability or honesty ultimately prevented your growth while depleting mine. Real support means believing in capability rather than assuming perpetual dependency. Our conversation acknowledged painful history without dwelling in resentment. The year of separation had created space for individual development necessary before genuine reconnection became possible. The relationship emerging from this process contained appropriate boundaries, mutual respect, and authentic communication, impossible under previous dynamics. The experience transformed my understanding of family obligation and healthy support. True family loyalty demanded honesty rather than unquestioning financial provision. Genuine love required believing in potential rather than enabling dependency. Real connection flourished within appropriate boundaries rather than unlimited access to resources. Perhaps most importantly, the journey revealed critical distinction between sacrifice and self-respect. Legitimate family needs might require temporary assistance during genuine hardship. However, ongoing support that enabled deception and prevented growth served neither provider nor recipient. The courage to establish boundaries despite intense resistance and manipulation ultimately created possibility for authentic relationship and individual development previously impossible. 1 year after the painful revelation and confrontation, our family system had undergone necessary transformation. The process demanded courage, consistency, and willingness to tolerate significant discomfort during transition. The outcome, while imperfect, demonstrated remarkable growth for all involved. Madison discovered capability and direction previously obscured by dependency. I reclaimed resources and boundaries essential for well-being and authentic connection. Our parents adjusted expectations to support genuine adult relationships rather than perpetual parental authority. The journey from enabling to empowerment, while uniquely expressed through our specific circumstances, reflects universal challenge of establishing healthy boundaries within family systems. The courage to confront uncomfortable truths, despite resistance and manipulation, creates possibility for authentic connection, impossible within deception and dependency. The willingness to tolerate temporary discomfort ultimately serves growth and relationship development for all involved. If my story resonates with your experience navigating family financial boundaries, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to make the difficult decision to stop enabling someone you love? How did you handle the family pressure that often comes with setting boundaries? Please like this video. If you found it helpful, subscribe for more stories about navigating complicated family dynamics and share with anyone struggling with similar challenges. Remember, sometimes the most loving thing we can do for others is believe in their capacity to stand on their own. Thank you for listening to my journey.